I've seen you're the winner of Z Baker Studio. Can you just share something? How was your experience? Like, how did that start?
I was so scared at the thought that I did not want to go, because you never think you're good enough for something like that.
Interesting. I mean, from CA to digital marketing and cake artist.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. When a baker is starting his journey, how can any home baker have their USP? How can he create that unique selling point of his product?
The only way to know what your USP is
Instagram is becoming very crucial for any business per se.
Yeah.
What can they do to elevate their game of social media?
You don't really have to use that annoying trending audio just because it's trending.
Specifically when you're dealing with customers. So they come up with all unusual requests.
Right.
How do you deal with them?
Unusual requests I've gotten like something like make a cake that looks like a hookah pot, something that looks like a camera altogether, like a whole 3D thing.
In this journey, I'm sure it won't be a smooth ride.
Yes, it is not.
So what was your lowest point and how did you come out of it?
Everyone who meets me feels like it was so effortless for me to start it, but it was not.
It was effortless. Just like this.
That happened out of necessity. Because
Hi Barkha, thank you so much for joining with me today here. Before we start, I would want to say I'm a huge fan of all your artwork. I mean, I've been following for probably 2 years, I would say.
Oh.
And I really admire all the work you have done, especially the cake designs, buttercream one that you do. Mm-hmm. So for the audience, can you just share something about yourself and your journey?
Sure. First of all, hi Rohit. Thank you for having me. And it's great that you're starting a podcast which is around food and people in the food industry. So that's something very nice that you've started. I think we see very less of that in India itself. So about me, hi, I'm Barkha Kanchandani. I'm a baker, cake artist, and a mentor. And probably 10 years ago, I never thought I would be doing any of this.
Okay.
So I am that person. I'm born and brought up in Hyderabad, and I come from a Sindhi family. My dad's a businessman. My mom's a certified yoga teacher, and my brother is into software engineering. And growing up, I was always good at everything. I was good at academics. I was always given the motivation to make my own choices. I was always encouraged whenever I liked to do something new. Okay. So I would go to painting classes. I loved reading. I loved dancing. I loved playing sports also. I played a bit of lawn tennis and basketball as well when I was young. Yeah, and I was in school, I was always encouraged because of my teachers. They always guided me, and I was good at public speaking as well, maybe in an assembly or something. So, and baking was nowhere around this during that time. And I think my aunt used to make these homemade cakes, and she would get in the steel car, tiffin dabba, and I used to really enjoy having them. And then my mom used to bake cakes in that, that round cylindrical oven that we used to have. You used to only be able to bake one cake at a time in that. So yeah, she used to bake that, and we would just get whipped cream from the nearby bakery and just frost that cake only from the outside and then put gems on it. This is what baking was for me as a kid.
So when was that?
When I was really young, maybe 8-9 years old, like that. And this was never into baking as a profession, was never into picture. I always imagined myself in a office wearing a blazer, having a really nice view, just a comfortable life and paid salary or something. But often you're the person standing in way of your passion.
Exactly.
I think I had to try a lot of things before I understood what I liked. So as I studied also, I chose commerce, and in a gradual way, I also chose to go for CA as were most of my friends doing at that time. It was a very good career option. I cleared the first attempt quite easily. Okay. Then when it came to the second attempt, it took me 3 attempts and I still didn't clear. So at that point of time, for someone who was good at academics all her life, seeing a fail on a report card was very overwhelming. And during this time is when I had visited my cousin, and she taught me how to bake a box of brownies and cupcakes, which I really enjoyed having. And I started doing that as a hobby during my CA. And what happened, and I would take these and give it to my cousins, and I would like take it for my friends. Most of them would say that this is what you should be doing, and I laughed it off, and I always thought they are my friends, of course they're going to compliment me.
Yeah, I mean, baking as a career was never
Never a
thought.
thing. Yeah.
I mean, it's never been put forward, you can do this as a career.
Yep.
Apart from last few years, in probably 5 years down behind, there was no knowledge about,
exactly.
we can make it as a, even a business or a career.
Yeah, that's true. There was no representation as well, especially for women in the food industry. So then when that happened, I kind of started taking, a friend of my cousin had tasted the cupcakes, and he approached my cousin saying, will she take an order? And for me back then, it was a extra way of earning extra pocket money. So I took it up, and I would do this in my free time. And things really took a turn when one of the people who tried my cupcakes turned out to be, she was working for UNI magazine at that time, and she was writing an article on a list of bakers in the city who are doing a good job. So then she approached me saying that
what was the magazine?
UNI magazine. UNI.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's still going?
I think so. This was a regional issue only, like city-wide issue. Okay. And she approached me saying, I really liked what you made, and I would like to feature you along with other bakers in the city.
Nice.
So that was
nice.
like the first kind of accolade or like acceptance kind of a thing, and it was very big for a millennial child to be featured in a magazine. So it was a turning point somehow. And after 3 attempts of CA, I saw my friends moving on and pursuing their internship, articleship at that time.
Right.
And I just saw the kind of work they were doing, and I realized this is not what I want to do. That's the reason I dropped out. I was also like everyone pursuing my BCom in correspondence.
Okay. So that was within the city?
Yeah. Okay. I was in Hyderabad only. Then seeing my interest in baking, as I kept on trying new recipes at home just for fun, I wanted to go to pastry school. I also went for a couple of like baking classes here and there just to pursue my hobby. And then I told my dad that I want to go to pastry school. I wanted to go to Lavon at that time. And baking wasn't even an industry as big as it is now. So in retrospect, like what he said, he was foreseeing a lot of all the issues that I would be facing in future. And he sat me down like a proper businessman, and he asked me, okay, so you're going to open a store. What will be the SKUs? What will be the price point? How will you pay for rent? How will you pay for electricity? And I got really intimidated by that.
I mean, normally you don't think so far. Like you're just starting, right? You just want to learn the skill.
Yeah, especially when you're that young, anything is possible.
Yeah.
So that was it. Then I decided, and I was always interested in marketing because I was also running my Instagram page. I thought it was creative for me. Yeah. So
I mean, I would say you're a really good marketer, considering how you maintain the page aesthetics.
Yeah.
Normally, it's like, either you take a picture and post it, like you don't put so much thought, and if you take care of, look around so many home bakers.
Yeah.
That's something that's lacking in the page for others, but which you have really, showcased it way better.
Yeah, I guess that really worked. Yeah. And it came very naturally to me even at that point. I mean, the whole logic was someone would only want to get something when it looks good too, right? The way we eat, the way we see, that matters. So coming back to the story, so pastry school didn't happen, and instead I decided, and I also wanted to like live independently for a while, so I decided to go for my probably the next best career option that I would be interested in. So I chose to do my MBA in digital marketing, and I moved to Bombay for 2 years.
So interesting. I mean, from CA to digital marketing, and then MBA digital marketing and cake artist.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I had to try a lot of things before figuring out what I really want to do. But I'm glad that compass was always pointing in the right direction, I guess.
Yes.
So when I moved to Bombay, it was like back then Hyderabad wasn't so good with desserts. So even when I moved there, I didn't really have an OTG to even bake in. So I would, whenever I would come back home for holiday, I would bake something that probably I've seen or tasted or tried in Bombay. Okay. Even something as simple as a red velvet cookie was not available in Hyderabad. And I was so fascinated with red velvet flavor cookie, and I would try it once I came back home. So that's how the baking journey continued.
I mean, which year was that?
This was I was doing my MBA between 2017 to 19.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when I would go back, I would, always take time out to, whenever I would eat something new, I would look it up online a lot and how it's made, what is done. And then after in my second year there, my cousins saw how passionate I was and they gifted me an OTG. When you're a student, it's like a very big thing. Even this 5,000 rupee OTG, they were like, they just said that you should never stop baking. So yeah, in terms of support, as much as my friends and family could motivate me, encourage me, I got all of that from them. Even when I got that OTG, I started baking in Bombay. I would take small orders because I wouldn't have so much time from my curriculum, but I would try to make content for, even then, back then reels weren't a thing, but I would still try to make baking videos, like how I made a banana bread or how I made something like this. And I would go and get, like, for backdrops, I would just like go through scrap that people throw out, and I would just like, oh, this can make a good backdrop, and I would just get it, clean it, and then use weird ass tools to keep my tripod. I didn't have a tripod, so I would use different tools to use and tie my camera somehow and record a video. That's what I would.
Okay, I mean that was and those videos are still there.
Yeah, I think most of them are still there. I might have removed a lot of them now because it's so embarrassing. I was baking in like a steel dish. It was not aesthetic. I tried to keep it as aesthetic as possible, as much as a student could do. But because of those, back then also, TikTok approached me via a social media campaign manager that we would like you to make these videos for TikTok. They were looking for people to make really good content on TikTok. So they actually offered me like a contract, paid me for it. Yeah.
So cool, huh?
I would not tell this to my dad because then he would feel like I'm spending so much money on your MBA and you're going out and still baking like this. But when he got to know of that, I probably thought that, yeah, my daughter is crazy and she's not going to stop this. And he was very proud of it also, that I was earning like a sum just by recording videos of baking.
I mean, you don't get those contracts normally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very it's very, probably they have seen your work, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of an achievement.
Yeah.
To
and
get
like coming from a family, they weren't really interested into baking as such. We used to travel a lot, but there was no fascination or clear like obsession with cakes or anything as such. It was just always the regular bakery cakes for my birthday, my brother's birthday, the same Mickey Mouse and everything. So it was very different what I was doing. So in Bombay, then I moved on to baking there for a while, and I also, like, my college had a fest for which I set up a stall with my baked goods, and I did like kind of a stall thing, and my friends helped me, my flatmates helped me. We are up at like 9 in the morning. My flatmates are like, woke up on a Saturday morning to help me pack these cupcakes and everything. It's just really nice memories. And from that, I know that I would sit in class dreaming about baking or like dreaming about, like, I want to know how a croissant is made. It was like that for me.
So it's like they're teaching digital marketing and you're like, okay, how to do croissant?
Yeah, while still maintaining my attendance, which was supposed to be 95% minimum, while still attending, and my college used to be 8 to 8. It was almost 7 days a week. Yeah, and while still maintaining my grades, all of that. And before moving to Bombay, I had attended a couple of workshops in Bombay with chefs. So every time I would get a weekend off, I would approach a chef and like I would assist them for their workshops, 1 or 2 day workshops. And that's where I learned, okay, what does it feel like to stand on your feet all day? And what does that feel like at the end of the day? But I would have incredible pain in my feet, but my heart would be really happy because I just learned how to temper chocolate. That's crazy. So that happened, and then I decided not to sit for any placements and move back to Hyderabad. This is 2019 because I was clear that I wanted to do baking, and it's crazy how I didn't think about, how am I going to earn money, how I'm going to do this and that. Nothing. I just followed my heart back then.
Okay.
Yeah. So I moved back, and because I used to make videos, my Instagram page was still active. Because I used to bake earlier, I still had some clients who were happy to place an order with me when I moved back in 2019. And I somehow never really thought about earning money back then because even though my peers were getting jobs, making a salary, earning much more than I was just happy doing what I was doing. And while I was in Bombay, I also started another brand called Cookie Dough Company, which was with 2 other partners. And we actually went through the entire process of branding, creating the product, getting a product shoot done, logo, business cards, everything. And we soft launched in Little Flea. Little Flea is a exhibition in Bombay. So it was like a 3-day event, and we soft launched just to see how the reaction to the product is. So we did that. We got sold out in 2 days, and we had rented a kitchen for it. For 2 days to make, and I was there with little help making 60 kgs of cookie dough all by myself. I still have a picture of it when I'm holding this big of a tray. I don't know where that energy came from. So I was doing both cupcake window and the cookie dough.
Cookie project.
Yeah, by then. So then after the launch, we were due to have a store in Bombay in summer of 2020, but a week before we signed the lease, COVID hit, everything got shut.
Wow. It was going so well.
Yeah, I mean, I could have had another.
I mean, I've seen your bio, so it says your passion project.
Yeah.
So I definitely wanted to ask what was that. So definitely answered it.
Yeah.
But didn't expect this COVID thing would hit.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice experience though in learning what it takes to build a brand to that level, and you can't certainly do that alone. So after COVID, even me and my partners, we all went different ways, and the point was to hit the trend while it was hot. And after COVID, everything changed, right? So we had to drop it, but we lucked out because before we signed the lease and everything, before we signed the lease, COVID happened. So we weren't in any financial debt or anything.
That's good side of all that.
Good side, yeah.
Probably then why not start it again? Like it's still trending in US.
No. I mean, right now I think the direction of people consuming these goods, like I said, even with my partners, they decided to go with different choices because they were living in Bombay, and I had moved back to Hyderabad, and I was flying in and out to whenever Cookie Dough project was happening. So now I think the trend is more towards another direction. Cookie Dough treats would have been like a very good thing had we started back then. Even now I think people do opt for it, but it would take a lot more because we were also doing ice creams along with Cookie Dough just to make it a very wholesome dessert.
Right.
It's very difficult to go back to it at this point.
Yeah, we can always find an alternative, just rebrand it and remarket it.
Yeah, that's also an option. Like depends on how much you're ready to work on it again. Yeah.
So I've seen you're the winner of Z Baker Studio. I mean, can you just share something? How was your experience? Like, how did that start, and how was your journey across the whole program?
So 2019 when I resumed the cupcake window, my brand here in Hyderabad, and the cookie dough. And by 2020, I was only running the cupcake window. So when COVID hit, obviously the business got shut for a while because the first month none of us were taking orders or doing anything, right? But people still wanted cake. So just after a month, and I was lucky that I was doing this from home only back then. So I didn't have any major fixed expenses to worry about. I only had to worry about where I would get and how I would source so much raw material from. And people still wanted cake, so I would wake up at 7 in before curfew time to deliver to give these cakes away that they would come to pick up. And in raw material, like I still remember because its cupcake window was so small back then. I still remember the first time I made a bill of 10,000 rupees with the baking supply stores, just so I could stock up. And that was such a big moment in my life because I had never invested that much sum at once. So I still remember that. And then it continued, and 2021 was when Baker Studio happened. So I got a call from them that the show is happening. We've seen your profile. We are really interested, but you need to apply and go through the audition process.
Right.
Initially, at the first call, it's unbelievable for everyone. So I almost didn't believe it. And then they're like, we check out this website. And there was a video made by Chef Ranveer and Chef Amrita. And they were like, okay, this is happening. And I was really nervous. And I was so scared at the thought that I did not want to go because you never think you're good enough for something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally relate with that.
Yeah.
Because when I got call from MasterChef, I was like, are you joking?
Yeah.
At least I got 4 or 5 calls, saying like auditions are there, please do join, because they have seen my profile.
Yeah.
So till 5 calls, I was still skeptical, like, are they for real?
Yeah.
But still, I just felt, we'll just give it a try. And I just went for the audition, and you see a huge line over there.
Yeah.
That's when, okay, fine, it's real.
Yeah. It is rare. And especially when you're someone who's self-taught, that confidence is very hard to find within yourself. But like I said, my parents always encouraged me for anything new, and they said, "Hey, it's worth doing, so go for it." For me, the auditions happened online because it was still COVID time, and it all happened very fast because they wanted to wrap up the shoot in the next 1 month itself with everything, because they were scared that another wave might hit, and so it all happened very quickly. So I had 3 rounds of auditions. I still have a video that I had to submit that I made back then about me, like an introduction, which when I look at it now, it's very inspiring. Okay, like I was that girl. It was nice. It is nice to look at it now. And then I had a round with for an interview round, verbal round, and then I had a round where I had to bake something and show it to them and explain the ingredients to them.
Right.
After that, I got a call just 3 days prior before I was supposed to fly out, and they said that you have to fly down to Jaipur. The shoot is happening. Okay.
Oh, it was in Jaipur.
It was in Jaipur.
Cool.
And the CZ studio is in Jaipur, and before that, I was on vacation and I was not really baking for a while, and I was so scared. I was petrified. I have not been in touch with baking for the past 1 week, and you can still feel it when you're still new. So I was really scared. But when I went there, it was they really did a good job of making us comfortable. So the first 3-4 days, while everyone was still flying in, all the contestants, they asked us to work on our recipes, like get used to the equipment that's here and in the back-end kitchen, not the main stage. So we've not seen the main stage or shooting area yet. There was a back-end kitchen. They're like, just get used to the equipment we have. Because back then, I'm sure none of us were used to using these professional ovens.
So all of them were home bakers?
Yeah, everyone was a home baker.
Okay, so like how many joined over there in Jaipur?
It was 5 episodes and 3 of us in each, so 15 of us.
15, okay.
Yeah, 15.
So it was like an elimination rounds? Like how was the structure of the
no, so it was one episode, 1 winner. So there were 5 episodes and there were a total of 5 winners.
Okay.
Yeah. So 3 people were competing against each other. So elimination was in 1 episode itself. First round was a dessert round. Then 1 person gets eliminated, and the final 2 go into the cake round. And then 1 winner is decided from that. Yeah.
Okay, so like that, there were 5 winners in total.
Yeah, there were 5 winners for each episode. Yeah, that they had that concept. And I think first day everyone was scared because there were people who were like, no, I don't think I can do this. I want to go back. And then the team had to do a good job of like relaxing. Yeah. And even me, who has grown up watching MasterChef Australia, MasterChef India too, was like, it was very scary.
I mean, watching from outside, it's fine. Yeah. But when you're on the set, and so many cameras are watching you, like you don't know what to speak. They just keep throwing questions like, I mean, what do I say? Like,
or do I answer you, or do I concentrate on the dish right here? Yeah, and also you always think everybody else is better than you. That's always there. I think everyone feels that way. But because we had that 3-4 days of getting used to the equipment and each other, we all just became friends. So that was a great part of the show, that we got to meet so many bakers from across India. So that was really nice. And I mean, back then I didn't really have any friends who were doing the same thing. So meeting these people was very nice, because having your own brand and baking or home baking can be a very lonesome journey. There's nobody to approve, there's nobody to disapprove.
I feel you.
There's no mentor, there's nobody telling you, it's okay, this is this, even though this went wrong, it's fine, or this is right. So I'm sure like people who started that way, they all felt that way.
I guess most of them do, it's the same journey.
Yeah.
So like, so how many contestants were there from Hyderabad or Andhra, Telangana?
I think it was only me from Andhra.
You represented whole Andhra?
I represented whole of Andhra and Telangana. Then there were people from Bombay, from north side, northeast also, Kerala, Karnataka, everywhere. So yeah, that was like a good mix of people to meet. Yeah, and we exchanged so many ideas. And also like for all of us, one of the things was that we were not used to making plated desserts, because all of us were bakers and we were mostly doing cakes. Most of us. So we had to kind of sit and learn a lot about plated desserts and everything. And also the pressure that this is the India's first baking show, and you're representing your city or your state in this show. It was a little bit intimidating. Also, you had to set that standard.
I mean, it will be like, Ranveer Brar is there.
Yeah.
I mean, just watching him is so intimidating.
Yeah. Like, when they came in, it was unreal for all of us. It was like really unreal. Yeah. It's great to be mentored by them too.
So they were teaching you, like, any classes were happening?
Yeah, there was one masterclass that happened with both of them, and then that's it. And then they were there for everyone's episode, and then we got to talk to them and interact with them too. So that was an unbelievable moment for all of us. And then we went shoot by shoot by shoot. Mine was in the end, and then you kind of keep getting anxious, because you think that, I think this person will win today, but something altogether else happens, and then you're like, what is happening? And at the end of every day, all of us used to sit and wait. Okay, we kab aayenge shoot se, and when will we get to know what happened today? So it was quite exciting. Mine was the end. So we shot a Christmas episode with me, Christmas theme episode with me. So, and you also had to be very ready with whatever is thrown at you. And I think the biggest challenge was for all of us that we were all not used to baking recipes without looking at our notebooks. So we had to kind of memorize our recipes.
Oh,
yeah.
So you cannot see the recipe. Because baking, there's so many things, like you need to be precise. Like
So I saw a lot of contestants were very comfortable with learning ratios.
Okay.
So, if you're making a tart, what would be the ratio of like flour is to butter is to sugar, and like if cake, whatever. But for me, I think ratios only work with ganaches and fillings for me. And everyone has their own system. So you would need base recipes. Like, this might work, this might work. So we were not allowed to look at recipes at all. That was the biggest challenge, I would say.
I think that makes the competition more interesting.
Yeah, it did. Also, who are you going to be pitted against? So we had this whole reveal where we pick a flavor of the packet of jellies and decide, okay, whoever gets the same flavor is in the same team. And then winning moment was just unbelievable. It was 5 a.m. in the morning, like I told you. The shoot ended. I have no sense of self by that time. And when Chef Amrita announced my name, I just couldn't believe it. Like,
is it really me?
Is it really happening? You can see that in the video itself. That what happened to her. She had to come behind me, shake me, and then then I smiled.
So are the videos still available on the Z?
Yeah, they're available on YouTube. All the episodes are there on YouTube. I think they're on Z app also.
Great. So how was life after Z5?
It was quite good. I feel like someone who did an MBA, like the conventional mode of studying, and didn't sit for any placements and started doing a job in the kitchen. You can face a lot of kind of questions about why you're doing this. You don't need to do this. You could get a job and climb the ladder, earn more money, and even people within your like close friends and family wouldn't understand that. Also, like I said, the journey, like my friends were earning a lot more and going on like these trips and vacations or work trips and exploring the world, and I was sitting here in the kitchen making cakes and perfecting my cakes. And I think it doesn't affect you as much when you're younger. But after all of that, the validation that the show got us as bakers, because I knew that something like MasterChef is not what I would be fit for, because it's a lot of cooking and I am not an expert in cooking. But baking, I could have never imagined that a show will even start in India for baking. So it got us a lot of validation, one thing. It got us recognition in our own cities or in our own, and even when a client is coming to place an order with me and they see that, okay, I am someone who won a show which was judged by Chef Ranveer and Chef Amrita, it gives them, I think, a stamp of approval also, apart from what your work is already.
That's definitely an added advantage.
Yeah. And then back then also and then the whole experience of the shoot itself, right? For the first time you're on a set, there are so many cameras at you. There's one camera person specifically assigned for you, and you learn the tricks of the trade, the sitting on the makeup chair and getting ready, the green room, and then shooting for the promotions. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It was something any baker would dream of.
I mean, the whole journey was really amazing. But who was your influence? Like, what inspired you to, or who inspired to get into this journey?
If it's who, then I would like divide it into between two different people. So when I started, I was an avid reader. I would love to read. So Deccan Chronicle used to have this section about book recommendations.
Yes.
So one day I remember I opened the section and there was this book called The Big Book of Treats by Pooja Dhingra. And I just really wanted that book, and I told my mom, and we ordered it. The day it arrived, the first few pages when you open that book, you see her patisserie, which is in Bandra. It's pink and vibrant and beautiful, and it just like it made me feel something that, okay, and she made it seem achievable, done by a woman and a business. She's a business owner, she is the chef, and she made it look something that women can do. And I think that's where my first inspiration started. I was to, okay, this is achievable. Like we were talking about how there was no scope of baking as a business. I think she was the pioneer in India for me to make people believe that only baking can be a business. It wasn't a patisserie which is selling like other baking ingredients like bread or curry puff. It was just desserts. So that was quite inspiring. So I think that, and just the woman she is, and she's only become better and better and better so far, and her journey is
now
incredible.
She's a MasterChef judge.
Yeah.
And I mean, she's just growing and growing, and she's become a global star now.
Exactly. And she is so amazing. I had an opportunity to meet her too when I went to Bombay. I took a macaron class with her. This was way before I even started baking for orders. Okay. So I took a macaron class with her. Meeting her has always been pleasant. Like I mentioned, I wanted to try applying for internships during my MBA. I tried at Law 15 also, and unfortunately, it just didn't match with my MBA career.
Okay.
But yeah, I think she's been an inspiration for a lot of people in India to start baking as a career.
A lot.
And a few years into baking, 4-5 years into baking full time now, when I came across Sona's profile from Lima Cakes, she does cake art, and when I came across her profile, it was inspiration, it was like fascination, and it was like bewilderment. Like, how is this done? Okay. How is this cake?
The Lima cake is not, I mean, she's not from India, right?
No, she's a Canada-based cake artist.
Yeah, I've seen you went for a class, right?
So I had the good fortune of like having her as my mentor as well. Last year, I flew to Malaysia for a 2-day workshop with her because I just wanted to learn how her mind works with cake, and cake art is something that started fascinating me a lot more once I got into baking. So, once you start, this is also another sub-segment that you kind of realize, okay, do you want to move towards more like doing petite desserts and open up a chain of stores, or do you want to do more like really grand and luxurious cakes? And of course, like I think in the US, it's more on demand for wedding cakes because like a wedding cake is a very important aspect of their event as such. But in India, it's not so with weddings, but it's definitely a thing with birthdays.
Yeah, I mean, it's slowly catching pace.
Yeah.
Especially for birthdays, they want to spend a lot and you need that huge cake. But compared to US, it's not so much. Yeah. But still, it's okay. At least some business is happening over there.
Yeah, it's changing. And the change that I've seen from the time I started 5 years back, full time, like 2019. 5 years.
5 years.
5 years. Yeah. Sorry. Almost, I couldn't believe it as I said it.
It's been 5 years.
Almost 5 years, yeah. The change from back then to today is a lot. So I am hoping it just grows in that direction too. That's where my interest in cake art started happening. So meeting these ladies and learning from them was more about getting inspiration and then trying to find my own unique identity too in cake. So
one thing I wanted to add, when you attended that workshop, I was really jealous because I was just starting. So like when I saw the cakes she was making. And you going there and learning, like, when will I get that chance to, learn from her? It's just like out of this world kind of designs.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you cannot even imagine, you can make such designs as well.
Yep. She really surprises people.
A lot. Like when I just opened her page, like it just blew my mind.
It's incredible to meet her because she's not someone who's going to ask you to replicate her design. She's going to be like, go wild with it. Just do your own thing and I'm going to guide you through it. So the experience itself, and for me, because I've been following her for a very long time and I was just making this sugar flour and she came in front of me to help me and I was like starstruck. I was like, I cannot believe I'm here. Am I really here?
Is this real?
Yeah, is this real? So yeah.
So like within the workshop, like what were the 3 main tips or any main tip, which you take away from the whole workshop?
Yeah. So the one thing I love about her is that her work is art, and the only way her work is art is because her clients. She has created a system for herself where she is able to get creative freedom from clients. She was very kind enough to tell us how she started, and then she always says this, that I started with not with an intention of creating a business, but because I wanted to make art. One.
Right.
Secondly, I did not want to repeat any of my own designs, and thirdly, like it was a lot about not doing a specific kind of cakes. Like she prefers not to do kids cakes.
Okay.
So I think that taught me a lot about creating something for yourself that you want to do, that you will be happy to do always. And I've been doing this for a while now. For example, I do say no to a lot of cakes, like fondant based cakes, because I've tried it and I have a lot of respect for artists who are able to create wonders with fondant. But when I sat down and did it, like I did make like a whole camera out of fondant and a lot of these 3D structures, I just didn't enjoy the process so much. So it matters. Another thing what she explained in her workshop is that you have to feel that spark, that joy when you're making your cake. If you're not feeling that, your client is not going to feel that, which resonated with me so much because I felt this throughout my journey. So I think that also teaches us a lot about that we are not just bakers or making something that's food, we are making something that's art. And that cannot come from a place where you don't like doing something.
I mean, you cannot get just by doing anything commercial way.
Yeah.
Like you have to really put your head and just that creativity doesn't come simply.
Yeah.
It takes so many years of work, so many understanding of where this art come from, and translating it on the cake is it's more of a Picasso.
Exactly. Something edible.
Yeah, exactly.
And like the change has to come from you. So I think she's someone who started that change for herself, and it did wonders. And it teaches you a lot that if you want to bring out that change, if you want people to look at your cake as an art piece as well, you need to talk to your clients that way. You need to put your work out there that way. You need to do what you love so that it shows. And in my experience, it has always resonated with people. Even when I thought I was just doing it because I love doing it. But luckily, it does resonate with people. They do come to ask for what you're providing, and they see the effort that you put in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally agree. So, in this journey, like I'm sure it won't be a smooth ride.
Yes, it is not.
It's never a smooth ride.
It is not.
So, what was your lowest point, and how did you come out of it?
I think when there wasn't any particular lowest point. I think these highs and lows keep happening. But even like up until last year, I felt like Instagram started becoming more and more important. And it started affecting a lot of people's mental health also. And I felt like what you see on Instagram started becoming more and more important. And back then I didn't really have a good number of following. I was somewhere around, I don't remember, 6,000, 8,000, I don't know.
Okay.
So I always felt like, okay, I should have at least a minimum of like 10K followers so that people will think it's a legit business or something. And I used to beat myself up over it a lot. Until one day I knew I had it in me to do it. My background is in marketing. I do have the skills. It's just that with the baking business, you have to do so much, not just create the product, but talk to the client before and after it, market it, sell it. You don't get the time to do it. And before that, my pictures were doing the job because Instagram was all about pictures back then. So I had a dedicated corner for pictures and I would click my pictures there and I knew that it's going to be aesthetic. I made sure that happened. But cut to shooting reels and having yourself in those reels, it was like not easy. I mean, people say that embarrassment is the cost of starting something new. And everyone who meets me feels like it was so effortless for me to start it, but it was not.
It was effortless. Like just like this.
That happened out of necessity because I made cake and I was like, okay, I need to show transition, and this closing hand transition is getting too much, and people want to see you to get more views or whatever. So I thought, okay, I do not want to
become a cake. It's not happening.
I wish it worked like that. So I thought, okay, how can I do this in the most efficient way possible, which does not require me to show every step, because I don't have the time bandwidth to do that. With clients, there's always a timeline. So one day especially this, I think this started with my wafer paper ruffle cake, if I'm not wrong. So I just shot and I didn't have any time, and this was a new cake I was making for the first time. This client, she came as a blessing in my life, who said that I want you to do your magic, do whatever you want to do. And she really pushed me out of my limits to create that cake. So
which design was that at the bottom? All
pink color wafer paper ruffles. Yeah. It was that, like,
you made a class out of that also, right?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Up until that point, I was kind of reaching a point of saturation with clients asking me for the same cake again and again with florals, what this and that and this and that. Then comes this client who I sent these options, and I had pitched this idea to a lot of clients before, and they were like, no. So when this client came to me, I didn't even pitch her this idea. I had given up. I was like, nobody wants anything new. I'm just going to do the same thing. She was like, no, Barkha, I want something that is you. She'd seen Baker Studio and she'd like seen me there. So I want something that's very unique and that's you. I was like, okay, really? This client exists? And then I pitched her this. She was like, I love it. Please do it for me. And she was kind. She was so kind to me. And when I was doing that, I was already nervous about creating this new design. So I was like, okay, let's just try this chutki thing. So I recorded, stacked the cake, I recorded the pre, I did the chutki, and then the post. I don't have to shoot the middle part of it. And for the longest time, I kept thinking that chutki thing is something मैं बार-बार ये क्यों कर रही हूँ? My clients will get bored with it, or people will get bored with it. But the thing about Instagram that I learned after that
became your signature.
Yeah. There were clients who were ordering cakes for their kids' birthdays, and they were like, Barkha, you're going to make a reel about it because my kid loves to watch. And I was like, okay, when did I sign up for this? And it's sweet. It's very sweet. Recently also I had a client who was like, we want to include your cake video in our final first birthday cake video. And I said, okay,
that's amazing.
That's amazing. That's really sweet of you. So I think with that chutki videos, it just kind of like, I finally got to a place where my reels were trending.
Yeah.
And I got to a good amount of following, and from 10K to 50K was just overnight. I was like, okay, I was enough. I was happy with this. What is happening right now? So it was about, for me, I always had this thing in mind, is I should create and put something out there that I would love to have, I would love to watch, and I would love to consume. So that, just when I focused on that thing, it didn't matter when I was using a trending audio or not. It didn't matter what I was doing. It clicked with people.
Yeah, it just clicked.
It just clicked.
I wish it was so easy, the click, everything changed.
There's like 4 hours of work in that click that went. So yeah.
Great. So when you mentioned there are very few clients you get, who really want you to give your full, they want you on the cake. I mean, that freedom means very rare, for most of the bakers, they're like, I want like this. Clients come and ask you, I want the same design. I mean, normally, what is your response to that?
It's a nightmare for me. I don't tell them this, but it is a nightmare. Because more often than not, you would want the same shade. People who actually ask for exactly the same thing. Maybe I do understand that the mentality comes from a point that maybe they've had a bad experience in the past and they just want to make sure that they're getting worth their money. And or maybe it's coming from a fact that this cake really matches their aesthetic and they want it. But for any cake artist, and this is art, for any cake artist to replicate any other person's work or your own work, if you ask me to replicate my own work also, again, I'll not be able to do it 100% exactly the same. Even my own work will be 90-95% similar. There will be some change. And things like flowers, things like, and I put it out there when I started making tier cakes very clearly, that flower arrangement is something that comes to me as an art, and it is what I love to do. So if I go to the florist today and I see some flower that would look absolutely spectacular on your cake, but it doesn't match what you asked me, I would want to give you that. So I think that's where the little bit of freedom started, where I told clients that flower arrangement same nahi hoga. Then I do, whenever they ask for exactly the same, I do explain them that very delicately put message that, hey, I hope this you understand that this is art and every artist is different. So it will be similar but not same. And you can give them, it will be 90% similar depending on what you can do. Or you can suggest them. And most of the times when I don't do what they've sent me, I tell them that this is not what I can do for you. I would, I could take this theme and tell you what I can do for you. If you are happy with it, you can do. Now there are backs. There are like some drawbacks of doing this. I've had people take my design and take it to another baker and then like replicated it.
I'm
It
the
hurts.
culprit over here.
No. I don't mean that. I mean that if I'm sketching out a completely new design for
Okay,
you,
okay.
I've not made it. But you've taken my sketch, you liked it, and you are probably not happy with the price or
yeah.
whatever, or paying for the effort, and they've taken it to another baker who is probably ready to do it at a cheaper price for you. India is a very price sensitive country, so that
Agree.
affects. To hit that spot, it's been very mentally challenging for a lot of bakers out here, and I get this question asked a lot of times in my workshops. The pricing is a very important topic.
Yes.
In the workshops, because they just want to know how are these things priced. So it's just that you have to keep faith, you have to keep trust, you have to be able to have a lingo or a dialogue with your clients where you're explaining them the worth of the product that they are paying for, and they also need to see your work that you've worked so hard to put out there on the ground.
But still, irrespective of how much we do, how much work we have done or shown, it's like almost 6 out of 10 people, they still don't value, what we have done is not something you can get easily, just by going anywhere. And it's always a struggle for any baker.
Yeah, that's true.
What can be done, it's still the case even right now.
When I was at Lima Cake's workshop as well, she mentioned one thing, that when she started creating a portfolio for herself. Either that was by charging less to the clients and increasing her prices year by year, or it was just for her own time, that she was creating something, because you have to have a portfolio. Now, even after having a portfolio and your feedbacks out there and the word of mouth, if a client is not ready to trust you or feels very hesitant, in my experience, whenever I've gone ahead with such an order, it's not been pleasant, because somewhere they are still feeling that they are overpaying or they are not getting what they want. And no matter what you do, you will firstly be very anxious working on that order. Secondly, no matter what you do, they will just not be happy.
Even the slightest difference, they would want to pick out those, and they'll just keep on pushing on it, like, you didn't do like this, it's different. Wantedly, I'm not sure, like, if they're genuinely talking or if
they're just saying in a casual
way. They just wanted to figure out a way to, not pay.
Yeah, I guess. This is one thing that a lot of bakers struggle with too, that you are allowed to take a full advance payment. And a lot of people I know have learned this the hard way, because they've not been paid after delivery, or they've not been paid, or they had to really go behind the client for a lot of days. So you are allowed to pay for it. You're allowed to be paid for it. You are allowed to create that safe space for yourself where you are kind of creating a right client and baker relationship. You need to understand whether this client is right for me. If he's not, if she's not, then I better say no. Learning to say no is a very important thing. Learning to not do things just because it's trending is a very important thing, because that won't lead you anywhere. Except it can get you a lot of followers on Instagram, but it depends on what matters to you.
Not really. To some extent, we see so many bomb cakes and so many trending cakes that keep on coming.
It's just something or the other new. I'm the worst person to come to with a trending cake. I was just like, no. If you want me to remove cake from the cake itself and insert like a reel or something, like a photo reel or like some explosive item, no, eat cake. It's yummy. Why would you eat it?
They just want to, just make it all gimmicky. People are, just losing that essence of having a good cake. They're more price sensitive than, having a really good cake.
Yes.
It's like they're fine with, kuch bhi cake aa jaye.
Sometimes they are.
Less price chalega, but cake chahiye. Like, I just need a cake.
I think it's important to note that there's a consumer journey also. Once they go through that cake and they realize that they probably want better, or they taste your cake at another's party, that's the best. I think Cupcake Window has grown with that. Word of mouth has been like, hey, I had your cake at this one's party. It was amazing. I would love to order. So customer also is having their own journey with this thing, and where they also want to be safe, that they don't want to be looted or they don't want to be taken advantage of just because they don't have knowledge. So coming back to that point, customer education is so important. It's so different when you're working with a whipped cream frosting compared to a buttercream frosting.
Yes.
The weights differ, the textures differ, the pricing differs. So the more you speak about what you do on your profile, the more you're educating your client about it, and the more they know why something costs what it costs. And unfortunately, customer education is also your onus.
Yeah, it's our own marketing expense.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, like we work with, in the market, like we have whipped cream, buttercream, ganache. So what's your forte?
I love making buttercream cakes, and it's just something I figured through my journey. Initially, I also started with whipped cream cakes. Then I constantly kept looking for something that would allow me to make these really fancy looking designer cakes that I was seeing on the gram and on Pinterest.
Yeah.
I heard about buttercream. I also started with something as basic as an American buttercream, learned how to make Swiss buttercream, Italian buttercream, kind of tested and tried to figure out what is working better, and got a lot of feedback from my clients also. What is tasting too sweet, what they like, what they don't like. And that's how and when I started working with buttercream as a medium, I just fell in love with it. And there was no looking back from there. And I do use ganaches and whipped creams for fillings in my cakes, but buttercream has been the medium for decorating always.
So you're not doing whipped creams at all right now?
I have a couple of flavors on my menu for like small 1 kg cakes that do provide you a whipped cream frosting, just because people like that old style of cake, and these are the clients that have been ordering from me since day one when I did used to do whipped cream cakes. So I would want them to have this nostalgic option, and nostalgia is a very important thing.
Yeah, it's a very powerful tool.
Yeah, and I have certain flavors on my menu, like the vanilla and salted caramel with roasted almonds is something I do that really resonated and hit with people. And the only way I discovered that is by noticing how people in my own house also were consuming it, and how many times a client is coming back to order the same flavor.
Right.
So that I have an option available with or without buttercream also. You can't shock them with something new altogether.
I mean, we can just make the known flavors taste even better.
Yeah.
Probably that works. I mean, if we just take that a notch up, business is set.
Yeah, and you also want to provide cake that you like to eat too.
Yeah. I mean, anything that goes, it has to. I mean, any baker should personally like it.
Exactly.
Then there is no point sending if you don't really like it.
Yeah. So around this thing, like, it is very important not just like to educate the clients, just to talk to them in a certain way so that they understand and also realize what is a good fit, what is not, but also have certain fixed timings for your work, certain fixed procedures in place, hiring the right staff and equipment and tools to help you, so that there's not too much physical and mental strain on you. That's something that nobody talks about, which I've also learned the hard way in my journey.
When a baker is starting his journey, because there are so many bakers within the city, how can any home baker have their USP, or how can he create that unique selling point of his product? And how will he know that?
The only way to know what your USP is by trying everything. So you try, like I've tried fondant, I've tried making fondant cakes, then there are cakes which go into realism, like a cake that looks exactly like a basket or a microwave or whatever, and then there is a lot of different streams and that you can go into. So try everything, and most likely if you're a baker, you will get all of these different kind of requests. Maybe something you are specializing in bento cakes. There are bakeries who only specialize in bento cakes, and they do bento cakes and they are doing good with it because that's what they've created a system out of it. So I think trying everything really helps you understand what you like and what you don't like to do. Stick very well to what you like and learn more about what you like, and you have to say no to what you don't like. That's the only way for you to find your USP and your set of clientele.
And when you're building, Instagram is becoming very crucial for any business per se.
Yeah.
Specifically home baking, what can they do to elevate their game of social media?
So it really helps because we work on timelines. It really helps to have a space dedicated for your pictures and your videos.
Okay.
So initially when Instagram was all about pictures and I used to still work from home, I would have this corner in next to the window where there is one table that doesn't move from there and the placards or the backdrops are there, and I would always finish my cake, just go there, click a picture and it's done. And I don't really have to run around to set that up. That really helps and keeps you motivated in this run of Instagram race. Similarly, now there is a dedicated space for where I shoot my reels because I know lighting is good here and the backdrop is good here, and these are the things that I need while I'm shooting, and they're right here. It really helps. Secondly, just you have to kind of to be good on Instagram, you have to kind of understand what works on Instagram.
Okay.
So you have to be scrolling a lot on Instagram. So like I said before also, just do what you would love to see. And you don't really have to use that annoying trending audio just because it's trending. You don't have to.
So it's not required.
You can make a viral reel without using a trending audio. There are multiple audios which are trending. If your account is very small and you're still, you need that push from the trending audio, do use it. But kind of understand that, is that really what you would like to see? Like someone screaming as soon as you open Instagram, or weird kind of noises.
Yeah.
So yeah, that decides also the aesthetic of your page. When a client comes to your page, or when another fellow baker comes to your page, or whoever is seeing your art, what is the kind of look and feel you're giving them while they scroll through your store? This is like your online store.
Right.
So it helps to only put out there what you like, what you would like to see yourself. And again, there are like small things like transitions is something that I notice that people miss out on. When you're transitioning from something, for example, you're covering the camera with your hand and then you're opening it. That transition cannot be like more than 0.5 seconds long. I don't want to see a closed hand screen and a closed hand screen coming off the screen for like 1.5 seconds. So working on things like that really appeals to the human mind. And yeah, there are like a lot of, tips about Instagram is something you'll get on Instagram also.
So once you start doing, you have to see which works and then probably put all your eggs in that basket.
Also just start. Just start. Yeah, that's something I took a long time with Reels. That's something a lot of people are being very conscious about. Just start without thinking about what anyone will say about you or think about you. That's very important.
And specifically when you're dealing with customers, so they come up with all unusual requests. So like for example, they give me a 3-tier picture and I want it in 1 kg.
Right.
So like you get so many weird requests. Like how do you deal with them?
Educate the client that that's not possible, and if they're looking for something like a dummy and 1 kg on top, that's not something. If you are into it, you're into it, you do it. If you're not into it, you're not into it. So you tell them that this is not a service we provide, and that's how it's just going to work. And unusual requests I've gotten like something like make a cake that looks like a hookah pot, or something that looks like a camera altogether, like a whole 3D thing. I'm not into cake realism. Or someone asked me for a chiku basket, a cake that looks like a chiku basket. So I said, I just have to tell them that this is not what I do. And sometimes I wonder when I get these requests, like, where on my page do you see this? Why are you coming to me with this?
And probably since you're making cakes, they expect you might be making those as well.
Yeah, the all-rounder mentality just doesn't work in today's world. Even like something like MasterChef, when you see, you know that every contestant is has their own specialization, and that's what you push them towards. You don't tell them that you do this cuisine also and you become an ace in that cuisine also. I think that's a very 90s mentality that we are dealing with.
I mean, they would want to try in the show. But majority of the time, they always bank on their expertise. Like whether it's a dessert or savory, always the most crucial part, they will always go for what they're actually good at.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. I think it helps to develop on our specialization. We can't, just because you can do something doesn't mean you have to do it or you will be the best at it. Doesn't mean if there are 10 things to do, you have to do all 10 things.
Yes. Great. And any offline workshop you're planning?
Offline is in the works, but nothing confirmed as of in the near future.
So I'm really looking forward for the offline workshop.
Yeah, I would love to meet the students offline. I have once in Mumbai this year in Jan, and it was a really good experience. So I am hoping to expand on that also. But it's
Yeah.
like a full-time running cake studio. So most of the time I'm occupied with orders and
Yeah.
clients. So it really takes a lot from me to carve out time for a workshop.
Great. So anything else you would want to add for our viewers, or any advice for upcoming bakers?
Just remember why you started. You started the business because you weren't happy with what you were doing either, or you were too happy baking.
Yeah.
Make sure that factor is not gone. Every time I face with a challenge and I ask myself, why am I, if anything feels like a compulsion for me to do, I tell myself that this is not why I started doing this. I might as well done a job, or worked under someone else,
Right.
if I had to do what was told to me. So I think it makes your life very easy when you always remember that you started because this makes you happy.
So at the end of the day, you should be happy with what you're doing.
If you're running a baking business, a cake business, which is so challenging, demanding, and which requires you to play multiple roles at a time, I think at least you should be happy.
I mean, at the end of the day, getting that positive review from the client, it
Yeah.
just after all the efforts, you feel like, okay, client
Really
is
makes
happy.
your day better.
Yeah, it just makes the day, and we would want to put more effort next time.
Yeah, definitely.
That was great. So many insights I got to learn, and probably even viewers would be learning a lot. And thank you so much for joining. And it was a pleasure meeting you, and hope we'll have another session.
Sure. I hope your podcast does really well.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting concept. So I hope people take to it and it takes off. Thanks for
Hopefully,
having me.
thank you so much, and have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Chalo.